Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome this, Matt. Welcome to you, me. Welcome. Well, brought to you by our friends over at Easy Auto Financial. Go to Easy Auto Financial for any information that you need on how to get a car. Financing included if you're subprime, which means you get shitty credit. Lots of people do. That's what they're there for. Go to Easy Auto Financial for all your car shopping, purchasing, financing needs. Also, thanks to our friends at Domination, domination.com, AI for people that produce content. Go to dmntn.com for more information. And hello to Ed at Ed's Fine Imports. We use his Gitch. You can do the same, which is nice. Ed's Gitch, GITCH3 is your promo code. Busy day today. It's like Friday's kind of a weird day. We like Fridays. Lachlan Cross is here, and my friend Phil Demers is here, ladies and gentlemen. The Walrus Whisperer. Phil Demers. Marineland's worst fucking nightmare. Phil Demers, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you, dude. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Strange times, but you got me at a good time. So,
yeah, Phil, where are you based out of?
I'm staring out my window at Marineland. I'm in Niagara Falls. I can actually open my window. I can hear the rumbling of Niagara Falls in the distance.
Cool.
Wow.
Very cool.
So now, I don't know if you know this, Locke. Phil is a legend. Like we had a little chat about it, and I talked to Phil about a year ago. The reason why animals in captivity are now getting a chance is because of Phil. Phil has spent the last, decade of his life fighting Marineland to try and get access to Smushy. Smushy's his daughter. You can put it that way. I mean, they're connected at the brain, they're connected at the hip, and we'll get into it. And he put out a video which grossed me out yesterday, but and it's grossing and triggering everybody out this morning, Phil. And listen, if you don't follow Phil on Twitter, you have to, at Walrus Whisperer. He's the best follow on the planet. But how are you, and where are things at? Because every day there's like a fight between you and their lawyer. He owes you $5,000. You owe him nothing. And you're still ripping the top off of this thing as it continues to crumble. But where are you at with your scrap with this disgusting organization?
As far as the legal matters go, we've had what's called pre-trial pushed, strategically by Marineland into November. So again, Marineland sued me for millions of dollars. They just wanted to shut me up in every which way, shape, or form. They've tried to have me sign an NDA to get out of this, otherwise fictitious lawsuit. They're suing me for $1.5 million for plotting to steal a walrus. So unfortunately, I'm having to just wait because that's what lawsuits are: really expensive waits and deterrences from actually going to trial. But my objective from the beginning was, okay, well, look, you're going to sue me with a bullshit lawsuit. I have no money. I mean, I had no assets. I felt like, okay, maybe I'm the perfect guy for this fight. So all I did was kept kicking and screaming. Started the Twitter account. Lo and behold, lots of attention now, and lots of good things are happening. So as far as that goes, we're sitting around and waiting. Otherwise, what I have now, as far as having any type of weapon, is Marineland is opening at some point. They have to. And, what's become of the world these days, thankfully, is people are becoming brave in the face of abuse, and they're using their voices. And of late, some people, perhaps within Marineland's walls, perhaps not, have provided verified information that within at Marineland right now, a lot of whales have died. Now, because of COVID and because of winter and whatnot, Marineland's managed to stay under the radar. But all this information comes out, and it's absolutely verified that there's a lot of missing whales. So what's become is I suddenly, recently, became the beneficiary of video that I didn't take. I, for one, should mention, I don't know how to fly a drone. I strategically keep myself from ever learning how to. Marineland has, on many occasions, accused me of flying drones or having people.
Do you know how dangerous you'd be if you got a drone license?
I'm not doing anything of the sort. I don't do anything of the sort. I'm I'm keeping my hands and nose completely clean of.
You're just the conduit.
Listen, I'm just here. If someone wants to report something to me, I'm happy to push, retweet, share, and everything else under the guise of anonymity. I will protect anyone who gives me any information, as is the case with this recent video of Kiska, which is Marineland's last surviving orca, who has been essentially rotting at Marineland behind the walls, and there's no one to really speak up for her and whatnot. And, so with all these dying whales and all these concerns for a number of their health, people have been, I guess, capturing aerial videos. And again, I became sort of the recipient of one. And so I shared it a couple of days ago, and we're looking at it right now. And,
so Phil,
here we are now. This is the war. This is the war.
So I just one question for you. Have you focused your efforts primarily on Marineland?
I would say almost solely on Marineland. I worked at Marineland. It is all of my experiences from Marineland. I speak of my experience. I'm not a talking head speaking of like a I don't want to say typical animal rights activist, but I don't carry or push any type of like ideology. I can speak of what I know, and I know Marineland, and they know me, and so that's what makes this such a formidable war. Is we have gone directly for each other's jugulars, but by the grace of social media, I've managed to sort of hang in there with the punches.
Yeah, you worked there, Locke. He worked there, like he was hired as one of these. I guess I was thinking about it today because I knew you were coming on, and I was trying to figure out a way to describe in my own head the hiring practices of Marineland back when they hired you, and this is to no fault of your own. Phil Demers, the Walrus Whisperer, at Walrus Whisperer on the internet. Walrus Whisperer, one of the greatest documentaries you'll see on CBC Docs. You got to get it. But Phil, to me, it was like they had the idea and the practices and the humanity of Action Park. Did you ever hear about Action Park?
No.
That park in the States that will like 40 kids died going there over the span of like 15 years, where they really didn't give a shit about anything other than having the world's most dangerous rides and getting drunk, and they would sell drugs on site. Like, it was Marineland to me has been like this behind the scenes Action Park. Is that like just a complete disregard for the welfare of these animals from start to finish? And you were hired as one of those guys, were you not?
Of course, yeah. So the hiring practices then were, so I was hired back in 2000. So I took an ad out in the paper. I just saw an ad rather in the paper. And back then you had to physically drop off a resume. Marineland's practices essentially were just hire young people. They'll spend some time there, or and then eventually they'll move on to more, I don't know, I guess less fantastical jobs. You know what I mean? Like something that's more realist. So that's what happens. The turnover rate was kind of huge over there, and they like that. They hire young people, and they make them feel like they're in the special club by keeping secrets. There was a time when there was so many people that used to go to Marineland that, you could disguise what you were seeing as entertainment because everyone seemed entertained. But once the crowd started to thin out, people start to see things for what they are. There's almost nothing more haunting than walking through Marineland by yourself without circus music and the white noise of crowds. It's just that all of that decorations and the neon lights and distractions really camouflaged a lot of these things. So these days, there's just no hiding it anymore. Any practical person with decent vision will walk in there, and I mean, their nose alone will tell them that this is just an awful place. I mean, look at the shit that's piling up in those pools. That's all those black, dark regions. That's Kiska's shit that's been amassing there for decades because they haven't been cleaning it. And now when I used to work there a decade plus ago, I was actually a dive supervisor. We dove, and we were commercially registered. We had, the divers themselves had to become commercially registered or whatever, certified. And we used to dive, and we used to scrub those pools. And now I've been gone 9 years, so call it about that. That's probably the last time that they had any type of competent cleaning crew go down there. And now what you're looking at is a pool that is grossly compromised. And precisely the information that I've received is that that's exactly what's killing the whales at Marineland. Something's wrong with the water. They're missing a lot. They're missing 11 whales in the last 14 months. They're missing one dolphin, 2 of them because the one that's dying is being accompanied by another one. So it's off site. But when the doors open at Marineland, if they open, I put a big asterisk because July 7, Canada's Wonderland is opening. Marineland has made absolutely no announcement of opening, and I get the feeling that it might be in their best interest not to, because I think what's happening there is maybe worse than we can even imagine, because the information I received is such that we're talking about a grossly compromised life support system that is affecting now animals in other pools, despite, it's shared water, but in other pools, that becomes a very frightening thing. So now we're talking about multi-species animals, possibly becoming quite sick. And Kiska is in there. She's just as vulnerable as the rest of these animals. And Marineland just seems to be letting her rot away in solitude.
Phil, I have, and this is not, I'm not just saying this because you're on, but I have been anti-zoo for a long time, as long as I can remember. I've been to a couple and I'm always mortified. And I've spoken about it on my show. Like I've gone off about the zoos, and like specifically when I visited one with the girls, my daughters, years ago. And then I went on the air and I'm like, who's going to why? What is this? Why do we have these things? It makes no sense to me. And I got some pushback from people saying that zoos were there to, like, as sort of a protectionism for certain species, and that they were actually good for the wildlife, in that, like, they would take injured animals in. And so there is that sort of perception that this is more than just sort of an attraction, that there's some good being done. And it just doesn't seem like that anymore. Was there ever a time where the zoo thing was a good idea, or not so much a good idea, but was there for the right reasons?
So what's interesting, or what's difficult about that question is, some people will have created zoos and treated animals the way they did because they believed in their hearts that they were doing something that was well-intentioned. But it's not, and it hasn't been. Zoos are a sort of a that's a legacy business that's very quickly sort of becoming disenchanted in the communities, because most of these zoos are subsidized by cities, because they provide jobs and blah blah blah, this and that. They used to be entertainment, or rather they used to be job makers and whatnot. But anytime you ever go to a zoo, notice you're always, the exit's always in the souvenir shop. They don't show the books, they don't show the numbers. When they do, there's no conservation that's happening. You rarely ever hear of reintroductions to the wild. And when you look at whatever studies show any level of sustainability of those reintroductions, it's never worth the cost of what is happening at the zoos when it comes to breeding and shit. But these animals are always bred for the benefit of zoos. Every industry, no matter which we speak of, we can speak of ones of the highest honor. Every which one of them, once you peel back the layers, are gross and largely people largely benefit from the illusion that they purport to be. So any industry, and Marineland and these zoos are like almost the grossest of examples, because they pretended for so long, and now all you got to do is take a look at the books. There's no money being given out to these fucking animals. Like, Marineland doesn't even recycle. You won't even find a recycle box on anywhere in the entirety of that place. Like, forget the idea of conservation. Like, forget it.
So Phil Demers, Walrus Whisperer, at Walrus Whisperer on Twitter, joins us. He came into contact with this video, which we're playing over and over again, of this poor orca named Kiska, who's been at Marineland since 1979, literally floating in a pool of her own shit.
So
you
sad,
say that's 9 years of orca turds built up?
Oh, it's gotta be.
I thought this was, when I first saw it, like, if you watch the video, I thought it was a design. I thought it was a pool design, and it's literally the low points. And I've had pools for years where all the shit kind of collects in little end parts where they collect. That thing is so full of shit. It is literally just shit soup.
So
and if you watch the video, there's dolphins beautiful dolphins right next to it. Where is that? Like, where is that tank, and what are those tanks for?
So
Are those just holding tanks?
That's called Friendship Cove. So that's just one of Marineland.
It's not very friendly.
No, not terribly. Those are beluga whales that you're seeing adjacent to those pools. And what you're seeing in those pools are not actually low points. They're actually high points where the shit's accumulated. But where you otherwise see the white of the pools, that's the water jets coming out of the side of the walls. So that's used for flow. But essentially, it's only flowing a very small area. So you can literally see those are jets of that's supposed to stir the water. But what you don't see on this angle is the walls themselves are so full of shit too. I mean, we're not talking about a little bit. We're talking about dense, thick, possibly pathogen-ridden water. The water was always a problem. It should be noted. I'm sued for millions of dollars because largely I spoke out about the effect of what the bad water had on the animals. Yeah. And nothing's changed since then. In fact, it's gotten grossly worse.
Well, you can see the shit on the sides of the walls right there, like halfway
so that's
up the walls.
That's a really shallow area. What you saw in that video, to the I think it's to the left, but I don't know. It could be to the right. But what you're seeing is, I mean, that used to be scrubbed. We could walk. That's barely waist high. You just need a brush to scrub that shit, and they're not even doing that, man. They're not even doing that. And at this point, I think they can't release the shit there because I think that'll clog up the system. I think they are now perilously close to being beyond repair, and what we're looking at is an urgent need to rescue those animals. And I'm going to offer a little bit more context. About 6 weeks ago, we in fact intercepted Marineland very secretly exporting 5 whales that we understand were not the original whales that were intended to go, because the export paperwork had to be changed a number of times because the animals that were otherwise meant to be exported were dying. And so amidst the depth of COVID, somehow Marineland got an international interests exemption for these people to come from Mystic, Connecticut, which has an aquarium called Mystic Aquarium, and they loaded up 5 beluga whales and they got them out 6 weeks ago at the height of the pandemic. So I don't think that's just a matter of, hey, this is just doing business. I think we're looking at something that's going on back there that is far worse than we imagine. Again, Marineland hasn't announced an opening date. Who the fuck doesn't announce an opening date?
After being closed for a fucking year and a half.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to kick those? Who doesn't want to start making money? Let's go. I mean, they haven't even so much as put up there's not a commercial. You haven't heard a peep about them. Not even hey guys, looking forward to seeing you in blah, blah, blah. I mean, their Facebook hasn't posted until a couple days ago when they announced they're hiring. What do you mean you're hiring now? Wait, shouldn't you have been hiring 2 months ago? We used to.
Phil, is there a way to protect those animals, like get them out of there? Like,
not
I
a
don't
cheap
know.
way. No. There's only moving them sideways at the end of the day. But a sideways move at this point is necessary because you've got animals otherwise rotting to death. I mean, you have to get them out. I mean, people have made arguments with me. They're like, okay, Phil, like you're trying to get a walrus out and moved her to a zoo, because at one point I had resolved that there was a zoo that would have been just perfectly appropriate. But what people don't understand is the walruses that live at Marineland, there's only one left, the mom, Smooshy, and she's recently had a calf. So 2 of them, they live in living hell. They would be better in my backyard under a sprinkler system. Like, they need to be moved. So when I say something to the effect of moving her, for instance, to the Quebec Aquarium that has at least an outdoor facility where she can breathe natural air, see the freaking sun, and not have to breathe the bullshit air. Like, Marineland's air is like a warehouse of it's a cesspool of disgust. I mean,
well, dude, like you were mentioning, I'll bring this up again. If you look at this video, this isn't just in the water. This is airborne. Whatever pathogens that have collected through 9 years of orca shit that have built up on the wall. Look to the right. It's my right, so it's got to be your right as well. Look to the right. You can see the partition, this stone wall that separates the tanks. And if you look just to the left of the wall, if you look at the wall on the left, you'll see how disgusting it is on those walls. Look at it right there.
You're talking about
those walls. They're all green.
It's depth. It's got depth to it. Like, it's thick of it. I think that if you peel that off, it comes off like skin, and then you've got a real problem. So I think at this point, they've just resolved that it's game over. I think they've resolved that it's game over. At this point, they're just trying to export the whales as quickly or resolve what it is that they have to do. But dude, they're supposed to be open and people are supposed to be eating popcorn and walking through that place. It's not like, why have they not announced this? I mean, this alone should be enough for the media to be speculating like crazy. Why is there not? I mean,
so are they shutting down? They've got to be shutting down. If like, you can't have fucking like human beings pay $50 to go in and walk around in that disease, right? Because Marineland now is effectively just a giant fucking disease because they don't care. Because they don't care about you, because they don't care about the wildlife, and they don't care about the job that they've done. All they care about is separating you from your money. How can they open up if the fucking place looks like that?
And I don't see, again, I drive by 2-3 times a day, not by virtue of any obsession. It's literally the only way out of town. I live in a very small village adjacent to Niagara Falls. It's called Chippewa, but it is Niagara Falls. But I have 2 ways out. It's either head to Welland, which, you know, if unless I'm going for pizza or to go play some hockey, and then otherwise I'm driving by Marineland. There's nothing that suggests they're preparing to open. The only thing I'm seeing is them preparing some strategic level of excuses as to why they may not open. But again, if they open, here's what becomes. People walk in, they say, ugh, what's wrong with the Orca? And then they say, hey, where's all the dolphins? There's some missing. And then they say, where the fuck are all the belugas? There's 16.
Why does it smell like dick? Why does this entire park smell like balls?
So for context, it should be noted that there was a time when Marineland, there was at least some level of pride behind its aesthetics and its operation. But the founder died years ago. And when he died, a lawyer took over. And what you're looking at now is case in point why lawyers shouldn't run zoos.
Yeah. That was my next question.
Why do we have zoos? Why do we even have them? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry. No. If it's not a conservation thing, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
So this Andrew Burns guy, is that his name? He's the lawyer for Marineland? You drag him all the time. If you want to see, like, lawyers have a bad name, rightfully so. We employ lawyers because we employ content lawyers. But generally speaking, lawyers are dicks. So if normal people like you and me,
massive generalization.
But normal people like you and me,
need to reevaluate that statement.
When we're battling with a lawyer in private, we don't take that battle to Twitter. Phil Daly is like, good morning to Andrew Burns. You fucking blow as a lawyer, waiting for you to pay my lawyers. Have a great day. Next morning, good morning to everybody except that fucking prick Andrew Burns at Marineland. He is so relentless with this guy. If I'm Andrew Burns at the end of the day, I'm logging off Twitter for good because Phil would make you feel like a pile of garbage.
Okay.
Well, somebody's got to do it, Phil, and I, you know what I mean? Like, good for you.
He must fucking hate you, Phil.
At some point, though, somebody's got to take care of these animals.
Personally.
Like, yeah. Somebody's got to take care of these animals. I hope it has some impact, right? Like, as stressful as this must be for you, I think ultimately the end game here, you know, even if you can save a couple of them, it's so awful watching these videos and just hearing this story. Just brutal.
How can the public help, Phil? Like, how you talk about them opening, and by the way, last summer, did you see the ads for Marineland? They forced certain radio stations and like Bell and Rogers, they forced them to take their money.
Hey, wait. I should mention that my documentary came out, and those people that were forced to take their money, they also made editorial decisions not to speak of my documentary. And I have firsthand confirmation that it was on account of the fact that they, you know, and I understand it's tough times. You got to take your money. They needed money.
Explain. Now you've piqued my interest because this is how media works.
Chorus owned, to my understanding, some Chorus owned, I would say all of them, were advised not to speak of the Walrus and the Whistleblower documentary, which was premiered this time last year. And so, whereas, you know, obviously, this was an award-winning documentary, it did quite well. Actually, and while we're on the subject, July 17th, it will be available on CBC Gem. So then people could just log on and it's free. So that's great.
Have you talked to Netflix at all, Phil?
No, you know, that I understand, and I'm not privy to much of the business side of things, but that I understand there was some humming and hawing at Netflix. They were almost on board. But Netflix is really keen on their original content stuff and Canadian documentary stuff. I think their criticism of it was it felt a bit small town, and you know, fair enough. I mean, it's again, So I wound up on Discovery Plus in the States, which is, I mean, whatever.
That's pretty. That's big. That's huge.
Yeah, sure. I want Netflix. I wanted Netflix.
You know what you should do,
I wanted
Dean?
Netflix. Yeah.
You should send Phil and Adam Scorgi a quick little.
I've spoken with Adam a dozen.
Oh, have you?
We're best buds. He was the first guy. In fact, when I was trying to, because ultimately a filmmaker came and pitched to me that she would do the film. But when I was looking for people that would be interested, I spoke with Adam at great length. In fact, he was helping some younger students that were working with. They made a small sort of character piece on me, and so he was actually a great resource and all that. He helped us out, and I keep in touch with him. In fact, just today I spoke very briefly. I know his daughter's doing awesome at freaking hockey. I think she's just
Riley
endorsement deal. Yeah, Riley.
Yeah. She just got an endorsement deal. It's so cool.
Is that amazing?
Yeah. I love watching.
He doesn't let a podcast go by without telling us the status of how fucking incredible his daughter is at hockey.
You know what I love about that is
I mean, I love the dude. He's so great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I like the fact that he's got all these things, these really cool. He's hanging out with Danny Trejo and filming all these like incredible things, and then you check his Facebook page and he's going off about his kid, right?
So great though.
I love it.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a really good guy.
But back to the Chorus stuff. So Chorus Entertainment's a big media company in Canada, by the way, in case you're wondering, and they distribute stuff. Go ahead.
So I've been, over the years, I've befriended some, some DJs, some with bigger names, some smaller names, and they move around and whatnot over the years, and nonetheless, some of them turn around and I said, "Hey, it's time for me to get interviewed. Got a documentary coming out, so let's do this." And it's like, hate to tell you, Phil, and I shouldn't, but, and I was like, oh, and that remained true to every other sort of, not only just request, but just observation that I made of who was talking about what and who wasn't, and none of them would talk about the documentary, But I've dealt with this for a long time with Marineland. I mean, Bell Media at one point, there still is. I mean, it's obvious out there in the public record, but there was a mandate not to speak about Marineland, so I was outright like rejected from being spoken to or about. And it's interesting because I'm the enemy. It's like, wait a sec, why? Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You say it's a lot of years ago, but Chorus Entertainment told their entire staff, listen, if the Phil Demers, a guy who's fighting for the rights of walruses and orcas living in their own shit, calls and says, hey, can you help me make a difference? The answer is no, because Marineland gave us $100,000. And we need that $100,000 way more than we need to be people who affect change.
That was basically the memo.
That's exactly it, dude.
Yeah.
And it's systemic. Like it is impossible for people like you to be able to curate a narrative when it comes to the job that you're doing, because they won't help. They're not going to play. Like CTV News isn't going to come to you and go, hey, Phil, we love the fact that you've secured video of this poor orca swimming in a pool of her own shit for the past 10 years. And we want to talk about it because, well, by golly, we feel like part of being a media entity is we need to help make change.
You're
right?
the only blue check mark that hit the retweet button. I mean, at least initially. And
seriously?
Yes, I keep my eyes peeled. Of course, where's the media and all this? I don't understand. We're looking at pretty damning video here. You're not going to pop. You're not going to grab it and run this thing. Well, you're not going to do nothing. Okay, I get it. I understand what's happening. I know the game. But this is why I have Twitter. This is why I go on podcasts. This is why I do long form stuff instead of watching a blurb that is taken out of context of mine, dropped on the fourth paragraph at the end of the story. I don't need that shit. I wrote off legacy media a long fucking time. It was the greatest decision I made.
Yeah, no, you have to. And as someone who worked in legacy media for a long period of time, and Locke still works in legacy media.
I'm not allowed to say penis on the air.
Amazing.
But as someone that's worked there, that's how that business works. How it works is one corporation will go to the media company and say, hey, listen, we're interested in damage control. But how it comes out is we have $100,000 to buy some time on your radio station. And, oh, by the way, we'll give you all the money. You'll run all our commercials, but we want nothing but favorable coverage from you because this Phil guy is killing us.
I mean,
that's what happens.
You ever see when, Marineland will put shit on the news wire. I mean, there was a day and age when media picked it up. These days they don't. But and they would broadcast this stuff as news. It'd be like, and then at the bottom it'd say source Marineland, but it doesn't matter. It would be broadcast as like a breaking news story. And that's how Marineland legally was able to like defame the shit out of me, because they could write anything they wanted in a lawsuit, and then the media could write about anything in the lawsuit, as long as at the bottom they say, none of this is actually proven, blah blah blah. But it was like a strategic bombardment between media and Marineland to put together a perfect sort of trifecta of like bullshit lawsuit, bullshit narrative, and money in all our pockets, and let's just ruin Phil. And it just so happened that I was lucky enough to see through that and say, well, again, because I had nothing to lose and I'm just going to kick and scream, I'm going to just find other places to do this. And then lo and behold comes, podcasts, etc. So
yeah. Oh, dude, he's Locke. Have you seen him on Rogan? Have you seen our man here, Phil
when
Demers
you
on
sent
Rogan?
me the name, like when you said we're talking to this Phil Demers guy, I mean, I knew the connection between Phil and Marineland, but I wasn't sure why. But as soon as I saw a picture of him, I was like, oh, I think I've seen him on Rogan.
Oh, so
like,
disappointed. Oh, he says,
no.
He's like, another hour of this bullshit. Fuck.
That was not it. Phil. I couldn't place it until I saw your picture, and then I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is something that I've heard of. So you're out there. You're in the zeitgeist, my friend.
Yeah,
so let me ask you then. We've kept you for longer than 15. I know on our DM. I'm like 10, 15. Sorry, dude. You're just awesome. Love fucking talking to you, and I believe in this. I believe in this with everything.
You guys let me get angry, and that's an okay thing. So
yeah, it's therapeutic.
You should meet our other co-host.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of anger.
He lives, James, he lives dialed up at 11 out of 10.
I thought you were going to say Darren Pfeiffer. I was like, well, I know your other bud, Darren. I know.
Darren,
Did you know that Darren and I are in a little music project together, that we actually play in a little band together called
Do you really?
Yeah, Robin Black and the Binks. And we got Robin Black, the MMA analyst. He's the singer. And yeah, it's fucking rad. We got
did you guys put out like a punk rock karaoke video
we did one, and then there's another one that should come out in the next. I mean, fuck, Darren and I can't. We're just every day we're on. Let's go, Robin. But I should come out soon. We did another song.
Jesus, how are we not privy to this?
Dude,
how are we finding out about the Walrus dude when we have Darren on every week?
Dude, I've known about the Walrus dude for a long time. I've asked him to come on the podcast for a year, and he's like, I'm busy right now.
Well,
I'm busy fucking up the world. So now he's here.
I only come when I've got something to talk about. Otherwise, I'm just going to become that redundant idiot that you guys get bored of talking to. If I've got something to talk about, boom, we've got it. Here we are.
I can't believe Darren didn't tell us about this project, though. This music project.
No, he did a couple of times in the podcast. I just don't think you were paying attention to that part of it.
I was blocking him.
It is good fun. I'm having the time of my life with him. It's so much fun.
So how did you go from like, because this is what interests me about you, because I think everybody's got a couple of different stories that dictate their life. They've got like pre-40 and then after 40, they become different people, right? Even from talking to you last year to this year, and watching you on Twitter at Walrus Whisperer, by the way, is where you can follow Phil. You've hit stride. It's like you feel good about yourself. It's like you've got everything in front of you and you won't quit. But did you ever, like, compared to how you were when they hired you, back in 2000, you must have been a weapon, like to go from that to activist. Like, what happened? Was it one experience? Was it a collection of experiences? What made you go, you know what? Fuck it. I don't care about me. This life isn't about Phil today. It's about affecting change for something that I really believe in.
So whereas I'd love to say that it was totally selfless and whatnot, but I would say largely when I left, it was probably a lot of my unwillingness to change. There's something about holding on to your youth and everything. I was 32, I think, when I quit. I mean, that's not young, maybe even 34. I can't remember. And I wasn't exactly young, but I was still, I hadn't developed personally into the person that, that I would need to be to have any level of confidence to even do what it is that I'm doing here. But having said that, leaving was very, very tough, because I was also leaving on the basis that, things were fucked and awful. And then I didn't want to speak out. It wasn't my objective when I left, but, circumstances were such that it became the case. And so I accepted to speak out to the media. And when that happened and Marineland inundated me, both using my friends and my colleagues who had otherwise really been supportive of me speaking out and had largely agreed to speak out themselves until they tucked tail and ran. It should be noted that, of that community, there's almost no one left that I can even speak to anymore. I mean, the things that became, it just became so fucking ugly after. But when Marineland and they sort of came after me and coordinated these lies and all this other shit, man, there was a part of me that wanted to go fucking crazy. Like, there's something that itches you uncomfortable when there's a complete campaign of lies and it's being levied against you, and effectively. So I don't know. I think I got more crazy after Marineland did what they did. I think we could have went our separate ways amicably, which was the original idea, but Marineland held exactly 0% of their fucking bargain. And man, when you get betrayed like that, and then there's, bear in mind, I've got a walrus there that, it sounds weird. Am I her mom? Well, science would say yes. So I'm not going to argue with science. I know what my heart and soul says too. I mean, fuck, there's something in my stomach that's that's got me enraged that I'm, I'm ready to pound through a fucking wall. But, I would say largely it was Marineland that turned me into this. I would have never been this guy. And I guess it became, let's call it a dance. I mean, I'm a hockey player, men's recreational hockey. I like my OV beer, cold or tepid warm, of no matter. Just something that just happens. You start swinging, you start punching, you start swinging, and they throw the worst of what they got at you. And this is supposed to be the biggest thing that they promised me, a pretty awful life. And every blow that they gave me, I knew was fraud. I knew it was bullshit. It was lies. So fuck, man, I'd come back swinging with truth. This is just what it became. So I became a weapon and I became dangerous on account of what Marineland has done. But it should be noted that I'm not like, I know that you say, oh, Phil, you've caught your stride. It is ebb and flows and it's peaks and valleys, because what becomes of life when you sort of jump into the unknown and give yourself to sort of hope is there are just really, really, really dark places. But as long as you navigate them, you are better prepared to both appreciate and navigate the good, right? Mm-hmm. There was a time when all I wanted was good, and every time it slipped away, I got crazy about it. Now it's like, I am familiar with that feeling, and now I just have to use it in sort of the lulls to prepare for when things happen, because they come in waves. And it's something that Marineland has created, because when things go bad, people come to me now. They've made me a weapon. So fuck it, let's become a weapon. I'm having a time of my fucking life.
Phil,
do it.
James, hang on. James says, what would it cost Marineland to protect and nurse a whale like that back to health versus the legal cost of tort? Yeah. That's a great question. Do they even, they don't have the money for it, obviously.
No, I don't. I imagine very quickly, if it was necessary to raise an inordinate amount of funds to move that animal, it can be done. Marineland is happy that animal is not on the radar. Again, we're only in Canada. There's an animal. There's another whale that lives in solitude, except for she lives with some other species of animals, so some other dolphins, called Lolita. In I don't want to be wrong, but I believe it's in Florida. But anyways, Lolita in the States gets a lot of attention. But Kiska's story, I don't want to compare. I mean, they're both awful, but Kiska is in complete solitude, rotting, and is like in poor health, and is really living on drugs by virtue of a lot of drugs every day. This animal needs to be fucking rescued. Why are we sitting here watching? If there was an animal on the fucking beach, there would be the army would be called to get it back into the fucking water. Here we got a fucking animal that may as well be better off beached, and she's fucking cooking in a cesspool of chlorine and shit. And there's no one to do anything. And if I don't stick my fucking neck out to get videos like this out, no one's gonna do anything.
Wow. No, I'm fucking, I'm moved. I mean, This is what it is. It is
awful.
This is why I wanted you on the show, dude. Don't be fucking sorry. I mean, you're living your heart, right? Like, this is the kind of stuff that I want to talk about, because it's hard to talk about, and no one will, because they've been paid to not talk about it, right? Like that is the sickening part of this. There are extensions of how fucking gross that visual is, but to get that visual, it's 10 years of a company and media in this country teaming up to fuck Phil.
And the courts, and I don't want to say the courts, but they're a perfect vehicle for abuse, because they are perfectly accommodating. They are perfectly accommodating.
Because Phil is the only person in this country who who hasn't given up. He's the only person that worked there. You just heard him talk about it. Who said, yeah, this is wrong. Let's go. He's still on it. Everybody's fallen away. He doesn't talk to those people because what we've seen is still happening. When is it? When was that video taken, Phil? It's another question someone has.
Now, I can only say that I was told it was taken last month. I can't verify a date or anything else because I haven't got that detail, but I can confirm that having seen other video in similar time period, that it's exactly just as relevant today as it would be a month ago. Probably today, if that video was taken, it might be a little worse.
Locke, sorry, and I interrupted you earlier. My bad.
No, I was just sort of focusing on the overall context of Phil's speech there. And I don't know if you're married, but you might be ready for marriage.
Dude, you know what's crazy about all of that is I hear the stories, right? Obviously, and now I get to speak of mine because I'm still surviving it, but I would not switch my position for anybody.
Good for you. That's good. I was just being a dick, and but it's your passion is shining through, and those animals are lucky to have you, man. I hope something positive comes out of this whole situation.
Yeah, someone wants to know if you can naked cheese whiz says, what's the answer? Which is a great question. Can they not release them? What's the end game? What is the answer, Phil, in your mind?
I mean, there are three answers, three possibilities. One is do nothing, which is precisely what's happening. Number two, this is going to be very controversial and unconventional, but euthanasia would be something to be considered in this case. I think that would be a determination of experts and whatnot, but I think that an assessment should be made. At the end of the day, what should be done is an assessment to see what it is that can and cannot be done. Because, I mean, moving a sick animal it could very well be just as much not in her interest as staying exactly where she is.
They talk about that here in Edmonton with the Lucy the elephant. Like, right. Lucy's so old now that if we moved her, she would probably perish, right?
Well, these are the types of excuses that the industry wants to use as well, right? Because they want to absolve themselves of any responsibility. So if they move the animal, then they don't want to blame themselves for this type of shit. But leaving them exactly where they are is somehow the okay thing because they're treating them with drugs. And we tried, guys, we tried. It's horse shit.
Is Kiska drugged up in that video? Is that what we're seeing there?
Not drugged up in the sense that she's got too much Valium, that she doesn't have a sense of who she is, or that she's sedated, but she has a lot of drugs. Yes. But
is that pretty standard there? Is that pretty standard there for them to take, for the living situation to be terrible or the abuse, and then the animals get a little fucking squirrely, so they just sedate them? Is that pretty standard stuff? Okay. I'm gonna reveal something to you that's gonna really piss you guys off, and good. Please.
When there was an animal cruelty investigation into Marineland's animals in 2012 by the OSPCA, it turns out any animal that is under veterinarian care is exempted from animal cruelty investigations. Now, the reason that is because, for instance, as an example, if you had a dog in your backyard and you didn't give it food and water, and the OSPCA came and they were to charge you with animal cruelty, you would be able to say, wait a second, this animal's not eating and is not being afforded any water because it's 24 hours before this surgery. Here's my exemption that says that, and the vet immediately supersedes that. So the OSPCA immediately, when an animal is under veterinarian care, it just exempts it from animal cruelty investigation. Well, turns out when all your animals are on drugs at Marineland, despite the reason that they're on drugs, for instance, let's use environmental reasons. So if you're sick because of the water and you're on antibiotics, it's not a question of what made you sick. The only thing that matters is that you're under veterinarian care. So all of the animals at Marineland, every single which one of them, were exempted from animal cruelty investigation. So quite literally, the OSPCA said, "Oh, we can't even investigate any of this, but let's take months and months and months and wait." So I think it was maybe December 22nd or 27th of 2012 that they ultimately released their findings.
Fucking wild.
Dirty, man.
It's like loophole after loophole after loophole, just to be able to stay in business and continue to abuse these animals for their own financial gain, right?
Yes.
It's fucking shame.
That's money speaking. That's money speaking. That's how Marineland has existed largely in a void of regulatory laws or any laws, because I used to tour the politicians. I used to tour them all. So I'll give the Marineland's now dead owner credit. When he did do business, he did do it the old school way, and he stayed true to that through and through, and it worked for him.
Yeah. Well, dude, listen, I can't tell you how thankful I am that you spent some time with us today, and I can't tell you how thankful I am that you are taking it upon yourself to right this wrong. And it takes courage. It takes kind of courage to stick with something like that, to be able and if you haven't been sued, or if you haven't been, if a large conglomerate of companies hasn't made a concerted effort to fuck over your entire life or reputation. I've been fortunate enough to be on the receiving end of that, as has Phil. Phil's is ongoing, but Phil is so much bigger than them now that they can't touch him, right? Like all the things and the ancillary shit that they go, oh, we're not having you on the radio. Oh, we can't interview for this. None of that shit matters, because Phil didn't care and he just kept going. And I would highly encourage you, if you're that convicted as Phil is about something, righting a wrong and trying to relieve injustice where you see it, that you use Phil as your model. Phil doesn't stop because Phil can't stop, because Phil won't stop. That's why I fucking love Phil. I wasn't an advocate or a proponent of either zoos, aquariums, schools until I started to follow Phil. And you know what? It's just common sense, right? It's common sense. That's a fucking sentient being that is literally floating in a pool of her own shit, and has been for 10 years. So if you're a business, if you're a media entity and you're going to take money from these shitheads, I'm going to come after you and make fun of you, because what you're doing is not advertising in good faith. You're perpetuating the crime that is continuing to happen to these fucking animals.
Well, here's hoping they don't open up again. Like, and
how can be done
with the animals. Right?
There's that hope, but then there's also the no. That could be an awful thing. I mean, if they're hiding something that's awful, they need to open so that people can get in there. If there's something, for instance, of a sale and perhaps a media ban, and that's why Marineland's been so quiet, then so be it. That could be a benefit as well. But I don't know that not opening is a good thing. I think that their strategic means to either delay opening or not open altogether is maybe a scary thing. Okay. I get what you mean, though. Yeah, we need them out of business, but there's a phase out that needs to be done responsibly here. And my concern is they're not looking at it like that. They're looking to sell the fucking place and just get out of business and do whatever with the animals. But that's not animals first. I'd like to see an effort. I'd like to see an animals first effort. Let's get them out. It can be done.
Yeah, let's get those animals out of those tanks, and let's get behind Phil at Walrus Whisperer on Twitter. CBC Gem next month is where you can see the Walrus Whisperer.
July 17th, I believe, as of
July 17th. I highly encourage you to do it.
We'll watch Twitter for that. When promote that shit out of that. But Phil, one more thing too. And again, you don't know me from a hole in the ground, so I don't expect you actually to take any of my advice. But don't worry about your anger. I think it's fine and it's justified, and it doesn't feel like something that was misplaced on this podcast at all. I mean, no. I get the sense that you're trying not to be the angry guy, but it's okay every once in a while to let that shine through.
Well, it's nice to on occasion have a place to be able to let that go, especially in conversation, because I am always on the point of boiling with a lot of these frustrations, because again, you're witnessing a video that's turning your stomach. Man, I saw that. I've been screaming about this for nearly 10 years. It's it gets to you.
Yeah, we got everybody needs to retweet this pod today and share the fuck out of it on any social media that you're watching on, and get it out there, because I think it's important that people start to see this, and maybe at some point something will build and it'll lead to something, right?
Yeah. That's the hope. Phil, appreciate you, brother. As always, dude, anything you need, you know where to find us. Okay?
Appreciate you.
Okay, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
That is Phil Demers, the Walrus Whisperer, who's doing his best job to try and get those beautiful animals out of the tank there. That is,
and not snap.
Gross.
We should probably say that out loud too.
Yeah.
He's doing his best job not to fucking go completely off the deep end, right?
Well,
That's awful. Yeah.
Think about that for a second. Think about there's loneliness for a guy like that and anxiety for a guy like that, especially when he's going down the road of challenging, Marineland, who had probably tens of millions to fight him. Bell, Media, Chorus, Rogers, all those other people fighting against him. This guy, in the face of everybody telling him they won't do business with his message, has gotten the message out there, and he won't stop, right? Like, he just won't stop. And he's not a bad fucking guy. Like, last year, he tweeted out this saying, hey, I feel like stealing a walrus today, because he really wanted to go get this walrus, Smooshy, who he loves, right? Yeah. So he tweets out, I want to go get a walrus. And Marineland filed a complaint with the police, and the police showed up to his door. This is the video of that actual.
So the reason I'm here is because police got a call from Marineland expressing some concern. So there was a Twitter message that you sent yesterday on July 23rd saying, life is short, steal a walrus.
It's funny.
You hear him laughing in the background too. He's like, oh, fuck, yeah, I totally tweeted that. Steal a walrus. Like stealing a 1,200-pound animal in the back of your fucking station wagon. It's like,
good
it's
for you.
But yeah.
Well, and the funny thing is, he's probably not wrong. He said that walrus Smooshy would be better off in my backyard with a sprinkler.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, listen, we'll let everybody get to it. I appreciate you being here today, Locke. Yeah, it was. It was great. Yeah. It was great. We can have fun and talk about our balls and how much lower they are, closer to their knees they are as we get older. We can tell fart jokes, and we can make fun of people, but sometimes it's really important to make a difference too. So I'm glad we got
that was a good one. I'm glad. I feel it was good to be involved with that one.
Yeah, it was. It was great. Yeah. Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM. Watch Lachlan on Twitter, at Lachlan Cross, because next week his radio station, 95.7 Cruise FM, is doing the totally illegal lawn dart tournament. What happens is everybody gets drunk and throws projectiles 200 feet in the air at each other. It's going to be a blast.
Yes. The midget is in Kevlar. Just so you know. Not even kidding. We got Army. Army issue helmet and flak jacket.
Have to. You have to. Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, he doesn't see well. He's got a wandering eye and like depth perception. So if a dart does come at him, he'll probably move into it.
Let's get him wasted and get him in a lawn darts tournament.
And then the unfortunate thing about Jimmy is, and everyone knows how much I love him. He's like a brother to me, right? Mm-hmm. But he's a bit of a dick. And when you have him out there, and you got a dart in your hand, you can't help but feel like throwing it at him.
I should really throw. It's like the same. It's just exactly how we feel when we're on the driving range, and the kid who's picking the balls up with the tractor on the driving range is out there. We have to hit it at him. You have to try and hit him with a golf ball.
Perfect analogy. Actually, I wanted to do a charity event with Jimmy, and he said no. I wanted to put a baby mattress on him, just strap it to his back, and send him out to a driving range to pick up balls and sell like balls for like $5 a bucket, and have just like people go out and just hammer golf balls at him. And then he's just all day picking up balls with one of those one baller things.
Terrible idea. Terrible idea. If he was full size, it would be a fun idea, but terrible idea.
I think it's a better idea that he's a little person.
I do too.
We were going to put a hockey helmet on him. Hockey helmet and a baby mattress strapped to his back.
Do it. See what the social outcry's like. I would love to watch that happen on your Twitter feed while I go, that's my friend Locke.
It was
as I eat popcorn.
Hold on, just a rough idea. It would be for a good cause.
I'd pay to see it. I mean, I don't want to objectify anybody that's that short for any reason, but I would pay to watch that. Like, you'd be fucking stupid not to. Oh, look, it's a little person with a baby mattress attached to their back, and he's wearing a helmet dodging golf
and a
balls.
Hockey helmet.
Everyone would watch. Everyone would watch that. All right. Well, I'm excited to watch it next week. So follow Locke on Twitter at Lachlan Cross. Thanks,
We're not
bud. Great
doing
to see you.
the driving range thing. We are doing the illegal lawn darts tournament. By the way, if
Yeah, I
you
know.
do want to sign a team up, send me an email. I still have
Yeah.
a couple of spots. We're
Do
going
you really?
Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's the email address? Who do they email? You?
They'll find it on any of my social media, or just send me a note on social media. Send me a note on Twitter. That's easiest. Or Facebook.
Open up your DMs.
Yeah. And then fire
All
me
right,
a note,
if you're in Edmonton and you want to get drunk and play lawn darts with the midget and Lachlan Cross this week, DM at Lachlan Cross. There you go, everybody. That sounded awesome. Thanks, everybody, for being part of the podcast. Thanks, Lach. We'll talk to you soon. Later, dude. That's Lachlan Cross, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being part of the podcast. And thanks to our friend Phil for joining us again. Follow him at Walrus Whisperer. I don't know why it's hard for me to say, but it is Walrus Whisperer. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Phil. Fucking great guy. Stands by his convictions. Not many people do. Hard to find good people like that. I'll tell you that right now. Don't forget that you can join us at deanblundell.com. Sign up for our newsletter there as well. Thanks to our friends at Easy Auto Financial, easyautofinancial.ca. Helping you cowboys get yourself a car. One car at a time. Just a little dress up on the podcast. Not a big deal. Anyway, Easy Auto Financial, what they do is they help you get financing full free. Doesn't cost you a dime. Go to Easy Auto Financial and check them out today. Tough time with your credit? They don't care. They will find you financing. It doesn't cost you anything. Then they'll send you to find the car that you want by hooking you up with a dealer that has the car that you've already picked out. Oh, the financing, I mentioned that. They'll get it for you. No questions asked. No charge. No obligation. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. Great people. Lovely people. Domination, DMNTN.com. Sign up for Domination today if you produce content, videos, promos, etc. Takes a fraction of the time, way easier to do, and you don't have to dick around. One promo usually takes like an hour. With these guys, takes 72 promos, 5 minutes. Really easy. It's artificial intelligence for people that do content. Check them out today. Try them for free, DMNTN.com. Ed's Fine Imports. What's up, Ed? I got you a Gitch on. You can get his Gitch too. Right now, boxer briefs for men with the pouch at the front, the banana hammock. Keeps everything separate. All the air goes rushing through, and there's no swalls. Swalls free experience with Ed's Fine Imports. Get his Gitch today. GITCH3 is your promo code. Use it, and they'll send you a new pair for free because he likes you. I like you too. I like all of you. And thanks to our friends at Blue Microphones, DeanBlundell.com, part of the Blue Crew. Check out Blue Microphones for everything you need to be able to stream, game, etc. Podcasts, including these XLR Blue Yeti X mics, super easy to use. MoFi headphones. Blue has everything. Our entire network is brought to you by our friends at Blue Microphones. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you Monday. Stay safe. Go get vaccinated if you haven't already done it. It's probably a good idea. Bye.